Look cool.
All right. Yeah. I thought we did 3 years. I think it's just a 3 year contract. I think they want to build their own eventually. Team up with maybe the airport. Probably Nina, as we called you. Guy or girl? Probably Nina Waystar. Or Mary Gerhardt.
How you doing? Good. How are you? Good. Boy, you're all dressed up. Hey, these guys, they got short legs.
HDR. Jessica
I
Lawley.
think I might do a one cheeker. Yeah, right. Put it right here. You guys have the questions? Yeah. You want to look at them real quick? Go ahead. Pass it down. I got more. Just being recorded. I guess it is.
Testing.
You guys want to see the questions so you don't get. So no surprises here. No surprises.
Surprise, here a question.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start out with introduce yourself, and then both 1 and 2, question 1 and 2, just give a brief synopsis of where you are, your current status in recycling organics, kind of what you do. Yeah. At least we're not the last one of the day, right? Everybody's got some caffeine in them or sugar, hopefully. Guess this is it. I'll get started, right? Good. How you doing, everybody? Can you hear me? Do I really need this mic? That's the question, right? You hear an echo now? So my name is Frank Franciosi. I'm the executive director of the U.S. Composting Council. I really appreciate being here, and Rubicon invited me to moderate this session. So we have some astute guests with us today, and I have some canned questions I'm going to go through, and hopefully we get through them quick enough that you may have some questions in the audience that you might want to ask, and we'll pass the mic over to you. Starting from my left, Robert, if you want to start, please take a minute to introduce yourself, and then just give us a brief synopsis of what your current status is in recycling organics.
Good afternoon. Robert Williams. I'm the Solid Waste Director and Fleet Director for Orange County in North Carolina. Currently, we have a food waste collection program as a private-public partnership where we service just about anyone within the county who would like to do some sort of food diversion or organics diversion. We're looking towards the future to probably expand on that, as well as do something on the residential curbside. So I'm interested in hearing what others have to say about that as well.
I am Connor Miller with Black Earth Compost, and we collect and do the composting for municipalities, commercials, residents, all of that in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We operate 3 municipal sites and also pick up from schools and transfer stations and do all sorts of pilot programs, citywide pickup for municipalities, and also help figure out how to tap into grant funds and get subsidies for bins and stuff like that.
Hi, everybody. Ben Parry, CEO of Compost Crew. So similar to Black Earth, Compost Crew does the processing and the collections of food scraps in the Washington, D.C. metro region. So we serve Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. We've been around for 14 years. doing about 20 million pounds of food waste a year, serving over 20,000 customers, and that's residential, municipal, commercial as well. And we have our own processing sites, mainly on farms, and we integrate our residential routes with our own farm composting sites. And then we're lucky that in the Washington, D.C. metro region, we have 2 larger compost facilities that were done either by the government or public-private partnerships, and then a digester up near the Baltimore area as well. So there's a good amount of capacity for the food waste collections now, but we're going to need more over time as it expands. And we have over 20 municipal contracts with counties, cities, and towns throughout the region.
I'm Ken Arroyo. I'm Ken Arroyo with the City and County of Denver Administrator. City of Denver, we service about 182,000 residential households, 7 units or less. We do the trash recycling, and in 2008 we started a pilot program where we got some grants. We started the program. Then when the grant money ran out, we decided to go to a subscription-based. So for many years, about 8 years, we had about 30,000 people that subscribed to the program. Then starting in January of last year, we went to volume-based pricing. So we started charging our residents, and as part of that deal, we went with the 3 cart sizes based on your cart size. Then you also get recycling and you get compost with that. Currently, we're trying to roll out the whole city with compost, but we're kind of running some budget issues right now. So we're probably up to about 40,000 right now.
Thanks. All right, next question. Can you speak to the planning process that you experienced when you finally made the decision to start your program? Robert?
Yeah, well, I'm lucky. That program in Orange County started, the commercial side started back in 1999. So we in Orange County have been providing food waste or organics for local businesses, restaurants, namely, to divert waste. And one of the things that we saw the need for is, 45% of the waste stream was organics. And so we targeted the high-producing food waste organizations. And right now we have about 70 on the program. What we don't do is we don't let grocery stores or big corporations like that join the program because that would be overwhelming. But the restaurants, the local mid-sized restaurants, local restaurants, and other food organizations, food pantries, we partner with them to divert that food waste. And we partner with a private company who then collects it and takes it to their facility and produce compost, real good compost that we actually sell. So it comes back to us, and we start selling that as a revenue generator for us. So it's been a really good, popular program. As the restaurants grow, then if they're producing more than, say, 40, 50 tons a month, then we try and put them on to a paying program. And so far, everyone who's producing that amount of food waste and tonnages have actually gone on to start paying for that service through a private company. And we show them that they don't have to pay for MSW collection. The frequency decreases. So it's a good trade-off.
Connor?
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. Can you speak to the planning process that you experiences when you made the decision to start, I guess in this case, your business?
Whew, I didn't have any plan, and I had no idea what I was getting into. So I wouldn't try to take too many lessons from that, other than it's just like Donnie Pelletier, the main skier, says, just point them downhill, bub. But today, for launching municipalities and stuff, we look at route density is a big one, and or if it's a compost site. In Massachusetts, we estimate about 1 out of 10 towns has a suitable site, and we can save the town money if we can put a site on an existing yard waste site. So it's not like a big shock or anything. It's like you're already composting, we're just adding food. The food on its own is worthless. The yard waste on its own is worthless. You put the two together, you got a really nice product that everybody's proud to use in their garden. It's really good. We keep grass out because everybody sprays stuff on that. But we can compost the grass on their own, and we don't like market that as great stuff. But so a suitable compost site for us in Massachusetts, where there's neighbors and everything, we don't compost with immediate residential neighbors. And we do the food waste indoors for the first couple weeks because that's when it smells the most. It has leachate. You know, you can run into animals and stuff like that, warming up on the pile. And that eliminates a lot of the issues that sometimes plague compost sites when you put food waste in. Because when you have a yard waste compost site, there's not that much complications and expertise like when you have a food waste compost site. You don't just put food in and hope it all breaks down well. It's going to be a mess if you don't know what you're doing. And when a town can have the food waste compost site, they can save money because all the surrounding towns are basically subsidizing that town's program. So that's by far the best economical thing. And also, you know, we give towns like basically half off their residential collection rate. Schools are sometimes free, and we operate the site for free. But it all depends on how much food waste we can bring in and how much the town is using that. So if we can only fit 60 tons per week through the site, if it's all coming from that city, we can't subsidize, 60 tons. But if it's like 50 tons from outside, then we can really subsidize the city's rate on that. So,
Yeah, let me just say one thing. How many municipalities do we have here today? Do not give away your compost, okay? Get the market value for it, right? It's a valuable product, so let's say that. That's my soapbox for today. Ben, go ahead. Same question.
All right, yeah, so on the planning side, I agree with Connor. If you want to know about the planning process that went into the business, we can talk over a beer later. In terms of the planning, we help dozens of municipalities get their food waste recycling programs off the ground. And there's a few things that all municipalities work through as they're planning how to do so. I mean, first and foremost, you do need somewhere to take it. So if you're going to launch a food waste collection program, what are you going to do with it, and how are you going to recover that resource and make it into something valuable that you can sell at market prices? So we're fortunate enough to have, like I said, a lot of various options. We really focus on recovering that organic material and making agricultural grade compost that can support local food production, and showing that connection between the food waste recovery and the healthy soil and the local food production that comes as a result. Now, when we're working with the government to actually launch a collection program, if they've never done it before, usually the first thing that the municipality will consider is, well, do we want to just start very simply with a drop-off program at a accessible but not overly convenient site, or do we want to launch right into a curbside collection program? If drop-off program is nice because it's a pilot, it's a proof of concept, and almost always when a municipality launches a drop-off site, they'll add bins soon after that, then they'll add another drop-off site, and then they'll say, oh, you know what, there's definitely a demand for this, let's do a curbside collection. If it's curbside collection, then the planning process involves, well, how are we going to pay for it? Are we going to do full subsidy? Are we going to share the cost with our residents? Or are we just going to sponsor it and let the residents do it on themselves? We've always done opt-in because we feel that that's the best for contamination and getting a high quality source. We may be testing our first opt-out in the fall because a town wants to do so, but they're small. It's not a citywide opt-out mandatory program. So every program that we've done, from a couple hundred homes to the Washington, D.C. program, which is thousands of homes, has been an opt-in program where people want to participate, and therefore they keep that food waste stream very clean. So those are a few of the considerations from the get-go. So I'll stop there.
Ken, you have started out with a big opt-in program, correct?
Yeah, for us, we done many waste studies. We found out 50% of our trash was all compostable. So Charlotte Pitt, she was our recycling manager at the time. She's now with the Recycle Coalition. Her and her team got some grants for the city, so we were able to start the program from the bottom up. She got the money. We bought a truck, the labor, and then we bought carts. And it was for about 3,000 people. That's how we started it. So we had to find different spots in the city where we had high participation levels in recycling and medium and low, so we could test the different markets and report back. So we rolled out the carts we offered everybody in those areas carts. We capped it off at 3,000, delivered the carts, and started the program. Then after the program ran out of money, then we went to the subscription-based. It was an opt-in, like you said, which was better. And as part of our volume-based pricing, they wrote the ordinance where everyone was going to get a cart, which some of us didn't like that, but they kind of messed that up. So we started one of our districts. We gave everybody a cart. We had to go back and pick up about 2,000 of them. They didn't want them. And then our next step, we found a way to get around that. We sent them letters asking them what size of cart they want. So if they don't respond, then we don't deliver them a cart. So it's not an opt-in. We're still getting them the cart. So we got a better success and lower contamination when we went to that district. So that's the way we're doing the rest of the city right now. But we're just trying to figure out how to get money to do the rest of it.
I think the message, if you're looking at starting, collecting organics and recycling, is start small and prove the concept, and start working your way up. But definitely along the way, make sure that you're doing really good public outreach, and you have those areas that you're going to get high participation. So that leads to my next question. So, what type of public outreach did you exercise before, during, and currently with your organics recycling program? Robert?
Okay. So for Orange County, I have a team, community engagement and outreach. And one of the things that they've done is they've done surveys. We were looking at doing a solid waste master plan, and out of that, we heard from the public, we want more food waste recycling diversion opportunities. And so we have those. We have 5 convenience centers, sites, or waste and recycling centers. We have organics diversion there. We also have organics in the towns at the farmers markets, only on the weekends, and that's very popular with the public that utilizes that facility. So our buy-in came in from the public and during the surveys, and quite frankly, me getting letters from the community, hey, when we can do the food waste? Hey, they have food waste in California. Why don't we have it here? I don't want to jump in and do, like, hey, opt in or opt out. I want to make sure we have the infrastructure before we get started on something larger. I want to make sure we can take it somewhere and it's sustainable, not somebody enters into a new business and 3-4 years later, we have to find someone else because they're gone under. So I would advise when you start that, make sure you have multiple partners who can receive that material that you're going to have there, or at least have some drop-off locations that the public can use if they want to go that route.
Yeah, I have to say that, Robert, I live in North Carolina too, and Orange County is Chapel Hill and Carborough. So he's wearing his Carolina blue shirt on today, but very progressive area. So they're telling him we want food waste composting. So,
Yeah.
Connor?
Yeah, I would say in the beginning, outreach, our best marketing was just bins on the curb, nice 13-gallon green bins on your neighbor's curb. They end up getting a lot of attention. And then from there, you have champions that we would set price targets to lower the price 30% when we reach these density levels, and that really helped propel the next line of growth. And then kind of with cities more recently, we had a webinar a few weeks ago about how municipalities can get started, and we kind of talked them through. In Massachusetts is under a particular waste squeeze, so is Connecticut, and soon Rhode Island, New Hampshire. We're all running out of waste capacity. And it's within the next decade, it's going to be I mean, all the landfills are closed. So it's like it takes a decade to start moving this steamship in this way. And so, as we said earlier, starting with a transfer station, getting a couple totes doesn't get easier than that. It's just put a couple bins up. About 15 households can fill a bin. It costs hardly anything. And then it starts growing. Then people sign up for the service. Then you get a subsidy or a grant to pay for the bin. And then you get even more people. Now you have more people, you can lower the price, and then more people can join on. And then at some point, the town might do a pilot, get a couple hundred, and with a pilot, you can maybe get upwards of 20% or so of the participation if people are still paying. Then citywide, we're getting like 50%. But everything kind of feeds off of itself. You get the schools, transfer stations, residents, compost sites, and one thing I want to cover too is just that where the stuff goes is one of the most important parts that towns often neglect. They just think it's off our hands, it was a waste problem, and the waste is out of our town. But you don't get the buy-in if it's turned into crappy compost or it's going to a sewage treatment plant. And then you're not going to get the participation and the respect for the program. You're going to get contaminated bins. It's just not going to have all sorts of positive benefits. The more local, the higher quality, the more buy-in, and the long-term more sustainable.
Yeah, and I think to that point, schools is a great place to start because you're teaching them while they're young, the right habit, the right thing to do, and to understand this is not going into a hole that's going to be forever buried. It's going to be reused and put back to create, food or on your landscape for ornamental landscaping. So that's great. Ben, do you remember the question?
Something about outreach.
Yeah, public outreach. How'd you, like from the beginning, during, and currently?
Yeah,
that
so
you're doing, yeah.
We've seen a lot of municipalities do it right, and some do it not so well. And the way that municipal programs evolved in the Washington, D.C. region, so Compost Crew, and then there was another company, Compost Cab, who had been doing food waste collections for 5 or so years before the first municipality decided that they wanted to get involved. So we already had a bunch of the residents excited and engaged, and they actually drove the municipality to launch a municipal curbside collection contract. And so over those years, we've learned how to do outreach right, how to do it not so well, and how to launch the programs correctly. So the ones that have generated a lot of interest, gotten a lot of excitement, and have been launched well have been when a municipality like City of Alexandria is a good example, or Fairfax County in Virginia. They've worked more from a collaborative standpoint and done it as a public-private partnership. So here's what we want to do. What do you think? The ones that have done it not so well have been, here's what we're going to do, my way or the highway. And all municipal budgets are tight, and staffing is limited, and you can only do so much. And we've seen counties try to launch a program and do all of the outreach by themselves with the same person who's running the solid waste division and managing the trucks, and it just hasn't gone well, and the participation there has taken forever to pick up. So when it's a collaborative public-private partnership with environmental entrepreneurs who've been doing this for a decade or two, then the participation picks up much more quickly.
And the contamination goes down, right?
And contamination stays low.
Right. Ken?
So for us, since we were subscription-based, we just sent out advertisements for people to sign up. From there, we had our yearly newsletter. We did audits of the area, so that's pretty much most of the outreach we did, or some of the community events. We also have the school contracts. We collect the school trash for the Denver Public Schools, and we work with some of those schools where we have the Compost Program. We kind of work with the kids there as well. So.
Good. All right, next question. This is a good one. I always like to hear what big challenges you have. What current challenges do you have in operating your current business or your program around collection or even composting?
I'm struggling with that one. I don't see a. You want to come back to me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I would say historically, labor's always been the hardest part. And the job honestly gets harder and harder because each route gets denser and denser and denser. And now to fill a 10-hour day is going to be like 800 stops on a route. Instead of my day, it was 200. And so finding guys that are going to last long-term, that can pick up a lot. You know, we try to mix it up. So if one guy's doing 700 stops that day, maybe he's only doing a 300 household the next day. But getting people to keep doing this over the long term is, I could see that being an increasing challenge. And so then automation becomes more interesting, but the bins we use are 13 gallons with a lid lock that don't work for automated trucks.
Yeah, I mean, labor and trucks are always going to be an issue with starting a business and keeping a business going. I would say specifically with food waste recycling and composting. So our mission as a business is eliminate food waste and build soil health. And with many programs, the focus is simply on just how do we divert as much as possible without caring what happens at the end. So let's mix all of this clean organic matter that can be recovered and made into a really valuable product with all of this dirty stuff and, flush it down the drain or put it down the garbage disposal or, mix it with biosolids, and then it becomes what's the lowest common denominator. Or run it in with all of this other stuff that's packaged, and then you have the microplastics problem. So if you have a clean food waste stream, how can we keep it clean and make really high quality compost out of that to build the soil health, to support local food production? So making sure that when we're recycling organic matter, we're recycling food waste, that we're actually turning it into a high value commodity, not just focusing on how to maximize diversion from the landfill and not care what the end product is.
Ken?
I'd say for Denver, our biggest challenge right now is budget. Right now, Denver's under some severe budget restraints right now, so we're having issues trying to hire more people and get more trucks. We have most of the carts, we have them stored, we've had them for a couple years, we got those on our grant, but right now it's budget, to get drivers and trucks. Then our next one would be contamination, just doing the audits, especially when we're giving everybody a cart, not opting in, just giving everybody one, got a lot of contamination.
Yeah, I think automation, I know there's cameras and all sorts of things that you can do, but it's nothing like the naked eye for someone to go pick up a cart, open it, and look in it and say, I'm not picking this one up, and tagging it and saying, and that gets people to clean up if they've got to deal with that themselves. Robert, I'm coming back to you.
I'm ready. Difficult thing for us is managing expectations on when we can have a organics collection program. We provide services in the community now. Like I said, we target those large producers. Managing that is good. But then when you try and add 47,000 doors to a program, we want to make sure that everybody knows what to do, how to do it, when to do it, to avoid issues that will come up with organics. Smell, number one. Carts, well, it's your cart. You have to be responsible for it. So I want to make sure that we roll out the correct program. I just don't want to give everybody a cart and say, here we come every Tuesday or something like that. I want them to already be practicing diverting food waste at home. Have you visited one of our waste and recycling centers to drop off your food waste? So when you start doing it at home, you recognize the convenience, and you'll be more geared and prone to use that cart properly instead of just making it another trash can. So that's managing expectations, I think, would be the hardest thing for us now.
And, getting back earlier to what Ben said about the end product and having a high-quality end product, compost manufacturers, that's what we are. We manufacture compost. So we look at this as a manufacturing process, not just keeping waste out of the landfill. We're making a product, a beneficial product, a high-quality product. Compost operations make money on their front end by accepting organics, but they also need to make money on the back end by selling a high-quality product. And that's why I say don't give away your compost, because there is value in that. And this kind of leads into the next question. Those of you that are involved in private-public partnerships, can you give us a real brief synopsis of the benefits of these partnerships?
Yeah, jobs are created. I get rid of some of my mulch. We get about 13,000 tons of vegetative waste annually. We grind that, we mulch it, and through that partnership with the private organization, they come and they get some. So that gives me space, that gives me room, that gives them something to combine with the food waste to begin that compost process. And then magically, this black gold comes back to us, and we sell that. So we're getting about 20 grand in revenue just from the sale of compost and mulch at our facility. So make sure whatever you're doing or whatever you're going to try to do, make sure it's clean, like we said. Good stuff in so you can get great stuff coming back to you, okay? But that's the benefit. We're getting great revenues on that mulch and great revenues on the compost that we sell through that public-private partnership.
On our end, on the composting side, towns often have a yard waste site that costs, sometimes in our area, it's like $100,000 a year for a 2-acre site. And they can save money by giving us the site, and we can operate for free. We lower everybody's prices in the area, and we know how to do food waste composting. We have the machines that are, there's some nuanced different machines that we move around from site to site because, for instance, it's almost $500,000 for an EcoSift separator that can separate the plastic, rock, wood chip, steel. And you don't want to have just one of those sitting at one site unless it's a really big site. And we also have like 120 garden center outlets that we can bag the compost and sell it throughout our distribution network. So it's a lot more of a business than just giving residents compost back, which we also do. Residents can come up and shovel as much as they can, and that puts a limit on how much they can actually take for free, because shoveling a yard at once is a lot. But so it benefits the towns. We get expanded hours at the compost site. People can drop off because we're there all the time. The town people get really high quality compost because it's got the nutrients from the food scrap. And yeah, that's what I got.
All right, public-private partnerships benefits. So I think on the government side, I kind of alluded to it earlier, where the government gets a chance to lean on the expertise of a company that's done this for a long time and share resources to launch a successful program. And then one thing that I've been talking a lot to municipalities about is, like I said, our company, and Connor's company have been doing this for a decade, and we've taken a lot of risks to get to where we are. And if a government wants to do it by itself instead of with a public-private partnership and pull the rug out from a business that took all that risk, then how are you going to incentivize further environmental innovation in industries like this? So we've developed our own type of composting methods on farms. We've learned the hard way how to launch these programs. And so we can help governments launch successful programs, and then they can provide revenue contracts that help us innovate further. One example I had to fight really hard for in a local county was they decided to launch commercial food waste collections on their own, kind of silently without telling anybody. So they bought a truck, they hired a driver, they started a route. And I was very curious about it. And one day I saw the truck driving on the road, so I followed the truck through its entire route. And it was going to customers that were adjacent to our customers. And we're we've been, like I said, we've been doing this for a while. They could have launched a program for a fraction of the cost just by partnering with us. That would have provided us with additional revenue to launch further programs. That would have saved them a lot of money. And it could have been a win-win. That would have been a great story. Instead, it was an unnecessary hassle to get them to launch it the right way. In the end, it turned out well, where they decided to pivot and they said, well, now our role is to grease the wheels. So we are providing these commercial businesses with 1 year of free service and then handing them off to the private sector, which worked out well in the end, but it didn't have to go through this annoying battle.
Ken?
For us, we just pretty much handled it as a regular contract. We took the stuff there, they process it, it's theirs. We work with them on education and contamination, and we do one event every year where we partner with them, where they come and sell it at our mulch giveaway event. But pretty much Denver just treats it like a regular disposal contract.
Okay. Last question. I've got three. I'm going to pick the best one. So if you were to give advice to municipalities or institutions that want to start composting, what would that look like? And let me just preface that by saying the U.S. Composting Council has, if you go to our web page, compostingcouncil.org, we have do a word search, target organics. There are a lot of case studies of municipalities, private-public partnerships, how to start drop-off programs. It's all free. You don't have to be a member. Take a look at that as a resource. A lot of good information, free information there. And you're not alone in this journey. We're here to help you. So again, any advice that you would give for startups?
From a municipality, one would be make sure you have it's a partnership. Up here, compost, they have the expertise in it. We just want to divert it. So make sure you try and at least have a partnership, have sustainable places to take it, and make sure they're using it for good, to get a good product out of that. And then I will also say sharing the wealth, because the compost, if they're making a great compost, it's going to generate revenues. And you don't have to take it all, but at least get some back, something in return, either free compost to sell, or they give you some revenue shares with that. So, and manage expectations of your community. Let them know what the process is. Stay transparent with your community as you develop this new program, and keep your community honest with the pains of food waste and organic. Sometimes it's not pretty, but it's a process, and once they get into the swing and habit of it, you'll see something really nice come out of it.
I'll talk about the compost side, so Ben can cover the collection side. But for a municipality to get started, I would say for a composter, it's nice when we can design, build, and operate and not separate out those to all different people. We've seen other people's designs, and as an operator working on somebody else's design, there's often flaws in it, like taking a bucket full of food waste from an inside building out, and then putting it into a different inside building, and it bounces when it's outside, and then seagulls get it. There's just like things that designers often don't think about that operators know from experience. So we like to design, build, and operate. And if the longer the term contract, the better. If it's 30 years, we're gonna invest a lot more on a really nice place instead of a 3-year where we just hope we can get it renewed, because 3 years is scary to invest.
Yeah, I definitely second the contract length. I mean, if you're going to do a pilot contract for a year, the price is going to be higher because there's a lot of risk inherent in a 1-year contract. So I think a lot of my answers, I think, have been at the 30,000-foot view, so I'll give one that's a little bit more micro. So when we launched the Washington, D.C. program, the city selected the bin size, and they selected the 5-gallon bin for just food waste collection. Their biggest problem was bin theft, because those 5-gallon buckets are extremely useful for a lot of things. So those bins were disappearing like hotcakes from the street and the alley. So they want to go up to something a little bit bigger and has less utility across, for tool carrying and everything. That was, sorry? Yeah, that too.
Me, I would just say maybe start out small and a lot of education. That's what I think would have helped us a little bit more and helps now.
We have about 2 minutes, so we want to take one question from the audience. JD? I'd throw you the mic, but I don't want to break this.
So, anybody on the panel, kind of a hypothetical. So I'm a solid waste director. I have 50,000, 100,000, couple 100,000 households, and I got a green bin. It's voluntary, households voluntary into the green bin. Not having a lot of success. 20, 30% of my households are opting into the green bin for the landscape waste. The landscape trucks come back to the compost station, it's trash. We're thinking about scratching the green bin. What should we do? And, sorry, one more thing. My outlet for the compost, I got one major buyer. That's all I got, and it's about $10 a ton.
Yeah, that's a little low. I'd also say who's ever bringing you the green waste, if they're bringing in trash, you got to charge them a lot higher or reject them. And for us, this has been one of the main benefits of being a hauler and composter is that we just don't pick up trashy bins, and so we don't bring it. But we've had just haulers bring stuff to us, and we have often been like, don't come back, it's just too trashy. So having a company, if it's around, that can do both, they've got skin in the game at the pickup and at the compost level, so we don't have trash problem. We've got like a 1% contamination rate. But I've heard in other scenarios, though, if somebody brings in trashy stuff, you just got to charge them more or kick them out, and somebody else can get that contract. But 20 to 30% is not too bad, though.
Yeah, I would say people respect what you inspect. So, a lot of cities have gone to bin tags, taken it away, done stuff like that, and a lot of these guys run apps where they can take a picture of it and send it to that customer when they're picking it up and saying, you have contamination in this. This is the reason why we didn't pick it up. And you do that repeatedly, and they'll either get with the program or get off the program. Anybody else want to handle that? Ben?
Just real quickly, I think a couple anecdotes that we've heard about commingled recycled food waste and yard waste recycling in green bins. The more space you give, the more potential you have for that contamination, right? Because you can fit anything into that bucket. So if municipalities launching food waste recycling, keep it to like a 7-gallon bin or a 12-gallon bin, because you can't fit a lawnmower in a 7-gallon bin, right? And then the other thing that was really, this is just a piece of psychology that I thought was interesting, that it came from one of the counties in Virginia. They said that they launched the commingled yard waste and food waste recycling in a 35 or 65-gallon bin. And they actually weren't happy with the participation because, and what they suspect and what they heard from interviews and focus groups was that if I don't have any yard waste, so let's say I mow my lawn, but I just let my lawn clippings sit and I let my leaves sit in my yard, which you should do, by the way. You don't need to rake up all of your leaves and, okay, well, actually, let's talk over a beer about that. So then they don't have any yard waste, so then they have a 35-gallon bin or a 65-gallon bin. They don't feel like they're doing anything for the environment by plopping one bag of food waste in the bottom of this humongous bin. So actually, psychologically, it impacted participation, and that's another reason why you should keep with the smaller buckets, 7-gallon, 12-gallon bin for food waste collection from a household.
Thanks. How about a big round of applause for our panel here? Thank you. You guys will all be around for questions later on? Okay, good. Thank you.